There we go. Okay, so let's, there's the review. Let's go down to number 5 together, do a few. I'll let you work a little bit, then we'll do a few more. So again, the idea is what you're looking for, it's going to be there almost every time today, almost, not every time, but almost every time, is that you have a positive and negative of the same variable already for you. So we know that those eliminate, hence that's why it's called the elimination method. Then we just have to do the rest of the arithmetic correctly and it should be fine. So we have 1 plus negative 5 is negative 4y equal sign, and 6 plus negative 14, which is negative 8. Right? And from this point on, you can solve it no problem. So go ahead and do that. Divide both sides by negative 4 and finish it up. Okay. Not too bad. And like I said, you know what to do next. You can finish the whole problem. You don't have to wait for me. You know how to do all this. We have 2x plus 2, right? Y is 2 equals 6. Subtract 2 on both sides, you'll get 4. Divide both sides by 2, and you'll get 2. Now, are you finished? Is this the end of the problem? No. What's missing? Yeah, you haven't written the answer down yet. So we can get caught up in saying, well, I got this and I got this. You still haven't written an answer yet. So last step, don't forget. Write your answer. If you graph these two equations, where would they intersect? Yeah. So you know without actually doing this that if you went through, found the slope, y-intercept, they would be something like this probably, right? And they'd intersect at 2, 2. Without actually graphing it, you would know that that's going to happen. So all these have a graphical interpretation as well. We could also solve the top equations for y, subtract 2x on both sides, and do substitution method. So all methods work for all problems, just some methods are easier some of the time. We'll talk about when in a little bit. All right, let's flip it over to number 9. Now go ahead and solve this one from the beginning. I'm just going to walk around and check to make sure everybody knows how to do it. Okay? So go ahead and try number 9 on your own. See how it goes. So we got 6 times what? This equals 0. So 6 times what is 0? And you get 0, right? So don't be afraid of having an answer of 0. It's okay. Plug it back into either equation. I'm going to use the bottom one. Doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer. So I plugged in 0 into the bottom answer. 0 plus 2y is negative 8. So 2 times what is negative 8? And you'll get negative 4. Now, just one thing I saw several people doing, just make sure you put your answer in a parenthesis. That's how we know it's an actual coordinate. Graphically, we know that these would intersect at 0, 4. Without the parentheses, it doesn't mean it's a graphable point. Okay? So you've got to have parentheses around your answer. All right. Give me a second to write that down. Now take a look at a number 11. What's different about 11 and thereafter? Right? See? Yeah. If you try to do it here, and you try addition method, you get 5x, and you get 1 plus 1, which is 2. It does not cancel out. That was what I was just mentioning before. So what you do is you go back to what I showed you at the very beginning here. Right? It's close. If it was a negative, it would be perfect. So here's where you can use this technique where you multiply an entire equation by -1, and it'll change all the numbers, and so that way one of them will be negative and it will cancel out. Okay? So instead, let's go back. Right? And let's identify, say, you want to look at this and say, wait a minute, if I add these up, it won't work. So let's go ahead and multiply this top equation by -1. Let's multiply the whole thing by -1, just like we did on the warm-up earlier. Because this is a positive one, we need a -1 to cancel it out. We can't just add these together and say it cancels out because they equal 2. Cancel out means equals 0, not 2. So if we make this a -1, it will cancel out with a +1 below it. So let's go and say -1 times -3 is +3. -1 times +y is -y. That's what we want. And don't forget the other side. That's kind of new. We're doing both sides. So you get equals +14. And the bottom equation stays exactly the same because we don't want it to be changed. We want it to stay +y. So here's the second type of the problem that you're going to be looking at is, well, what if they're almost similar, but we just need to, change one to a negative, right? So you could have multiplied the bottom equation by -1 and left the top alone. So here we see this divergence where you have two ways of doing the same problem, two different ways, and you get the same answer. So now these equal 0. And then we get 11 times what? Equals 44, and now you could finish the problem. So that's the difference. They're not always going to be set up for you perfectly where you just have to cancel them out and it's all, nicely done, no problem. You will have to do this most of the time after this point. You'll always be multiplying one equation at least by a number to solve. Okay? I'll leave you to solve that. What about last one? Oh no, second to last one, 13. Which one should we multiply by, and what should we multiply by? Top or bottom, and what should we multiply by? Should we multiply the top by -1 or the bottom by -1? Or does it matter? It doesn't matter. So just for variety's sake, let's multiply the bottom by -1 here. As long as one's positive, one's negative, it will equal 0. So the top equation will not change. I'm just going to copy that back down. And notice the format I'm doing. I'm drawing a little arrow to the right. This is a good format and it keeps everything organized. I suggest you use it. Because, again, the algebra is not too difficult, but there's a lot going on to write down, and you don't want to get confused or unorganized and start missing things simply because it's too messy and you can't follow your own writing. So we'll do -1 times 3 and get -3. We'll do -1 times -10 and get +10. That was the whole purpose of multiplying by -1, just so we get a positive here and it cancels out with a negative above it. And don't forget about the other side. This is often forgotten because it's new. We multiply everything on the whole equation. So we get equals -19. Okay. Now we have elimination. 10 minus 10 is 0, or -10 plus 10, 0, eliminated. 7 minus 3, 4. And -9 and -19. -28, right? And you can see 4 goes into -28 evenly, and you can finish up the problem. All right, go ahead and finish. You got some time now. You can probably finish at least up to 16. All right, and then in a little bit, I'll do one of the word problems with you. Okay, I just want to take a look at 17 really fast with the word problem. So realize, of course, we're setting up problems that are very similar to what you already know how to solve, right? So you should expect, since all the other questions have two equations and two variables, it makes sense that when you're doing these, that they should come out to be two equations and two variables. Right. So identify what they are first. You have two people. There's your two equations. Each of them are selling two types of pies, like your x and your y. So put the structure together in your head first. That way when you're trying to write down the equations, it'll be a little bit easier. So we got two people, two equations, Beth and Carlos, and they're selling two things. So those are your variables. Good idea to, at the very beginning, state what your variables are going to be. So here we could say that C is going to stand for cherry pie. That way at the end we actually know how to spell, right? RR. And do not use L as your variable. Why not? Yeah, it looks like a 1. So don't use L ever as a variable. Let's go with M for meringue. So small but important details. You don't want to be missing algebra for non-algebra reasons. Okay, so we have Beth, and we have Carlos. Right? Beth sold 6 cherry pies, and cherry pies are C, so we'll say 6C, and plus 9 lemon meringue, so and 9M, and that's $129. Right? So you see how the structure looks very similar to what you were just solving. It shouldn't be much far different from what you already know. Same thing here with Carlos. 8 cherry pies, and again 9 lemon meringue, and that's 139. And then you just need to solve it just like the ones above. You'll see how they're both positive here, so you have to multiply one of them by -1, right? And then you can go through and solve it. The numbers might look big, but if you think about it, you're just going to multiply one by -1, so it's going to be 139 minus 129, which is 10. And the numbers don't stay big very long. Okay? So setting these up, even though this is a lot of words, a lot of stuff going on, the setup is actually very straightforward. You can pretty much read the problem and write down the equations pretty quickly without having to think too much. Okay? It does help to have your variables figured out. Now, at the very end, how should you write your answers? Okay? Yeah. Do it alphabetical. So that way everybody has the same coordinate answer. That's another reason we do it alphabetical, so everybody has the same type of answer. C, comma, M. So the first number should be how many cherry pies. The second number should be how many lemon meringue pies. Okay, and then you're set.